Next question. I have begun the birth certificate authentication process prior to HISAdvocates. How does that have any bearing on the program? Well, there's a couple of things that people need to take into consideration. There's getting your contracts in order in reference to the different adhesion trusts that you're filling out and signing, and the birth certificate, or excuse me, the marriage license, and those types of contracts with the Fed and state. And people are really trying to figure the live born record out in comparison to the birth certificate, in comparison to their ability now to use their private offset account to basically have the ability to charge or discharge debt. Now, we used to authenticate the BC, fully authenticate the BC before doing the passport process so that we can show a fully authenticated BC. And we were going through, when we were ordering certified copies of our passport application, we were making requests for the acknowledgement of a fully authenticated BC, which everybody understands the Minnesota rules and what that could apply here. But the point being is we, at the very end, bringing a BC from the public to the private at the county recorder's office is the goal. But the problem is that there's way more. There's many other processes that we have been studying, even though this isn't any correlation or relation to the living in the private, and it's no relation to coming out. It's literally has nothing to do with any of them. The BC is theirs. What we want is to take the live born record and disassociate it from the BC. Now that even doesn't have anything to do with coming out necessarily. So we've been working on processes that will affect that we're going to introduce down the road. And so we always want people to have a couple of copies, fully authenticated copies of the BC. It's not necessarily because it's going to have any cause or effect today on having them be able to come out or live in the private, but we want them to be ready for processes that we want to bring into full effect down the road. Now, that could be coupled with a name change. It could be coupled with quieting the title on the BC. That could be coupled with a Securities and Exchange Commission removal of the live born record from the BC. It could be coupled with a whole lot of things. And we have to ask ourselves, what is our reason for making an attempt to do any one of those things? Like, my whole goal is just to not let them use any claim of title over my live born record. That's my personal thing. It's not because I want to trade on funds that they've made on these funds from corporations. And I have my personal reasons for believing that. And trust me, I've been in the understanding of how to set off and discharge debt for going on 12 years now. I've been in the understanding of 10, OIDs, 1099As. I understand money orders, medallions, all of it. And I can right now, but I don't have any debt, but I can right now discharge other people's debt knowing what I know. And there's a reason why I don't want to do that. So I don't believe you're coming out. I think you're playing with fire when you do that. And I think you're probably pissing God off a little bit. That's just my personal opinion. Other people feel different, and they're entitled to feel different. Except, it does reflect when you're trying to buy houses cash that are multi-million-dollar houses. And it does reflect when you're trying to, have Escalades and these different things and set those debts off. I don't believe in it. I drive a 20-year-old truck. I've driven it personally for 20 years. That's just me. I don't have a home in my name. I don't necessarily care about those things. I'm not saying I'm not well taken care of. I'm not saying that I'm not a fiduciary of what God has done in my life. And and being blessed beyond. What I'm saying is I don't need those flashy things. So it's a long-winded answer, but it gets down to the point of why people are trying to authenticate their BCs at this point. I think the bigger thing is the nubitant status, where you want to make sure that, and you really don't care, but you know, when you first come into living in the private, we order your nubitant status, which you'd like it to reflect, and they make it the hardest thing to understand. They give you the keys in a letter with your nubitant status, but you want your nubitant status to reflect a non-resident, quote unquote, alien. That's not how you want to identify. That's not what you want to say you are, but it basically means there is no status and jurisdiction over you at that point. So we start with that, and some people will change the date and reorder it and send a money order at the very end and achieve that status. So, but that's more important to me than necessarily having a fully authenticated BC for the purposes of private offset debt. I would, again, use the fully authenticated BC to show claim of title. At any time that I was trying to come into court, I would be showing that I'm holding the original instrument, therefore I'm the claim, and I would basically BK, list the instrument as an asset, let somebody come in and try to make a claim, and then I could use that for all kinds of things. But I want to strip the live born record off the BC. That's what I'm working on. And it's just it's a thing between me and God at this point. We've seen a lot of different paperwork out there, a lot of successful paperwork, and sometimes if you're not perfected on your paperwork, you can get in trouble. So I don't want to produce anything for people on a public side or even on a private membership side that is not perfected. We're going on in October 12th, our 10th year. And nobody's been in trouble doing what we do. Nobody gets their houses kicked in or raided. And we're just trying to be Americans, and we're just trying to cut the contracts with the corporation. That's all we're trying to do. We're not trying to play in their realm. And I think that's what keeps us safe. And I think it's what God honors too. So, and that's a long-winded answer, but suffices.